Believe me, hear me out here. I have been chasing the dream since I was very young. I have been chasing the entrepreneurial dream for well over 2 decades. Right out of high school, I joined in MLM. I started selling Avon. And I remember telling myself, I'm a businesswoman. I had business cards. I went on and bought all of these different products that I sold to no one, and they just expired in our house. If you know, you know. And right after college, I did it again. I invested in another business. This time, it wasn't an MLM. I was like, I'm going to start my own thing from scratch. I started a mobile spa business. And in this mobile spa business, I will go to people's home and I will do all of these services for them. However, very quickly, I got burned out with the job because I was working a full-time job and running this business, and I didn't have the bandwidth for it. That was also another opportunity that was a fail, but I learned a lot about myself and about running a business. However, even with this failed business, right, with all of these things, I still had like a real job that was bringing in money. So as each business was failing, I still had money coming in from a real job. So after my failed business right after college, I think about 4 or 5 years later, I ended up buying my first rental property. And that's when it hit me. My full-time job was the reason I had bought this first rental property. I found myself being a 30-something-year-old single female with 2 homes. And these weren't tiny little homes, you guys. These were beautiful 4-bedroom, 2,000 square foot homes that I owned. I realized that everything I did to be able to get the mortgage, eventually being able to have the money to turn that property into an Airbnb that allowed me to survive during the pandemic when everybody else was struggling, all of that was possible because of my full-time job. For the first time in my life, this girl who was addicted to side hustle and her whole life only wanted to be an entrepreneur and a businesswoman started shifting her thinking. No, I have never stopped thinking about building my own business and being an entrepreneur. And actually on this channel, you continue to see me making progress towards that journey. But what shifted in my head is how I saw my 9-to-5 job.